but you have a plan. And that's the point, that you have a plan that you want to follow. You might not always follow it, but you have a plan. Welcome to the Emperor Tarot card lesson. In this lesson, we'll be reviewing the meaning of the Emperor Tarot card, where we'll go over the general meaning of this card, and we'll also be doing a tarot analysis, where we'll be using 3 key factors on how to interpret any tarot card without memorizing the meanings, and ultimately empower your intuition. We are all intuitive, so think about intuition like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. This video is part of the 22-day tarot challenge, where each day of the challenge we will go over a major arcana tarot card, otherwise known as the Fool's Journey. Sign up at tarotchallenge.mysticmondays.com to get the worksheets to participate in these lessons and join our private community for this free 22-day tarot challenge. But before we get started, let me introduce myself. I'm Grace, and I'm the creator of Mystic Mondays, the artist, author, and founder behind all of the Mystic Mondays decks, the Mystic Mondays app, and all of the Mystic Mondays courses. Over the years, I've had the pleasure of teaching tarot workshops and reading tarot for hundreds of people, having collaborated with brands like Chanel, Macy's, Shopify, Urban Outfitters, and so many more, even reading tarot in the metaverse. But that's enough about me. Let's get back to this tarot lesson. Let's begin this tarot lesson with the general meaning of the Emperor Tarot card. The keywords for this card are authority, ambition, and power. In astrology, the Emperor is associated with Aries, a zodiac sign of trailblazing, innovation, and being fearless. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, forging forward with a fiery zest for life. Aries energy is meant to activate your childlike wonder, bravely chasing your curiosities, and push forward while others may cautiously hold back. In numerology, the Emperor is associated with the number 4, which is a number of structure, stability, and building a strong foundation. 4s bring loyalty, practicality, and endurance. This number can also relate to the 4 elements, which are seen throughout the tarot deck and represented in the suits with cups for water, pentacles for earth, swords for air, and wands for fire. There are also 4 seasons within the typical calendar year: spring, summer, fall, and winter, and the number 4 can relate to themes of home and ancestry. Knowing the correspondences of the Emperor card also gives us a greater understanding of the meaning of this card, as well as the overall energy of this card. If you want to access the tarot card meanings on the go, we also have the Mystic Mondays app for you to access the tarot library, and you can also draw all of the Mystic Mondays cards for the day to give you daily guidance and to be a part of your daily rituals. The Emperor is a card of authority and is considered to be the father figure of the tarot deck. He embodies structure and stability, complete with decisive action to easily manifest ideas in the form of accomplishment and monetary gain. His guidance and wise words are based on his worldly experience, and he's got the battle scars to prove it. He reflects your ambitious side, where you seek status, success, and recognition, where you are looking to build your empire and leave your legacy. The Emperor teaches lessons of self-discipline, making level-headed decisions, and delegation. The Emperor can help you activate your strategic thinking mind, implementing systems that can ultimately free up your time and build your vision. This card is also about embracing your inner warrior and to not be afraid of stepping into a role of leadership. That's it for the general meaning of the Emperor Tarot card. Let's move into the next chapter of this lesson, the tarot analysis. For this portion of the lesson, we are going to look at 3 different cards from 3 different decks. The Rider Waite deck, the Mystic Mondays Tarot, which is the deck that I created, both the author and the artist, and the NYC Tarot Quick shout out to my podcast, The Graced Podcast, where I often interview other deck creators, authors, artists, and other spiritual wellness experts on how to create more everyday magic in your everyday life. For the Emperor episode, I interviewed Asia Deshore, who created the Guided by Spirit deck. It is a self-published deck, and we talk about themes of the Emperor card and what that means to you, because being an Emperor can mean different things, creating that stability foundation, communicating with your spirit guides, all of that we talk about in this episode. So go check it out. All right, so let's get into the tarot analysis, where we will look at 3 core factors for how we will interpret these cards. We've got color, symbolism, and personal experience. So as a huge color nerd, I always tend to look at color with everything. And I feel like, especially with tarot and oracle cards, color communicates a lot, whether it's through the personality of the deck and the cards, or even the card's meaning and how that color is used to portray the symbolism behind the card or what the card is trying to say. So with the Rider Waite, the Emperor is very regal in his robe. He's got some medieval armor there, which is in that silver, which is like a blue color. And we've got like yellow in the background. We've got stone here, so that's in gray. But red obviously can symbolize authority and royalty and power, passion. Red is also associated with Mars, which is a planet of action, assertion, even aggression. And we've also got Mars represented here with these rams, which are carved into the seat where he sits. But I feel like if you kind of like squint your eyes, the red here with the Rider Waite really stands out. And then with the Emperor card that I created, I wanted something similar, of course, but I felt like instead of your normal crown, what you would think of as a Roman emperor or something like that, he's wearing kind of like this animal skin or like this kind of like bear head. And what's funny, insider tip, is that when I was illustrating this, a reference image that I pulled was The Rock wearing like a bear head or something like that, some sort of animal head or skin. And that kind of reminds me of the Emperor, just like this typically masculine figure, like very authoritative, strong, that kind of guy. There's a lot of red present here. There's triangles, which can look like pyramids that are in the background. And I feel like with the red tinged with the purple for me tends to symbolize royalty, intuition, can speak to your crown chakra. And I do feel like when ruling over anything, you're using your crown and your head, right? You're thinking. And I think the Emperor does use a lot of that strategic mind. And there's also these deep blues, which I think can indicate like loyalty, can indicate stability, depending on how that blue is used. And I feel like with this blue, there's a lot of depth. It's a lot of more than you can see, or more that can be seen beyond the eye. You know what I'm saying? That. And, the Emperor here just feels really sturdy and strong, but also surrounded by structure. Even the throne that he's sitting on is very structured. And then we have the NYC Tarot, which depicts important buildings, important landmarks that are in New York. And one of the most famous, iconic buildings in New York is the Empire State Building. So, of course, it fits that this would be the Emperor card. And we've got, the Empire State Building as a core central figure. And I like to look at these also as like, who is the core central figure in all of these cards? And obviously it's the Emperor. And even though the Empire State Building is a building, so it's not necessarily a person, it kind of takes on this persona within the card. And it's surrounded by these clouds, which I feel like are all very like evenly spaced, which also feels very structured. They're not like crazy clouds like that or anything, but they're all like, you know, like evenly spaced, and you can kind of plan for when they're going to roll by, you know. And we've got these buildings, which kind of, you know, it's kind of funny because they also kind of like act as other beings or characters or people, I was going to say, but they feel like characters. But even like the height of the Empire State Building compared to all the other buildings, it's just so much taller, which I feel like also is really saying like, I'm powerful, I'm tall, I attract attention, you know, I'm well structured. It's like, it's a building that is very well thought out, well planned out, very symmetrical. But yeah, very typical colors of what you would see like, you know, within a building and within a sky and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's begin to look at some of the symbolism. And we already mentioned Mars, you know, being present here. So we've got like the ram's head on the throne within the Rider Waite. We've got 4 of them, and the Emperor does correlate with numerology 4, which is present in all of the cards. Yes, in different places. So 4 is a number of structure, of foundation. I also think of 4 relating to your body because that is your physical structure, you know, your temple. 4 is often related to the material world, for like the rules, for anything physical is what I typically associate 4 with. So I mentioned the crown here, the Emperor in various cards is typically wearing a crown. This man is older, and that's seen through his white beard, you know, so he's been through it. You know, he's older, wiser, mature. He's been through many wars, you know, that kind of thing. So we've got white beards for both these emperors in the Rider Waite and the Mystic Mondays Tarot. You know, they have their battle scars. They've been wounded. They've been able to heal those scars. And, you know, we mentioned red, which is also present in basically all the cards in some way or another. In the Rider Waite, we have these mountains too, which are described as barren. And I feel like this card and this character, this archetype is not an emotional card. He's not like sentimental really. It's kind of like straight to the point, very direct. I think of like Mercury and Aries and how people like to communicate with Mercury in their Aries. Fun tip, I'm a Mercury in Aries. Which is how I know, you know, just bold, straight to the point, direct, you know, and not everybody can take that. We have the Ankh here. I believe that's how it's pronounced, but it is an Egyptian symbol of life and immortality. And I also feel like with the Emperor thinks about legacy. They're thinking about passing down something to the next generation. They're thinking about building for the future, something that lasts beyond their time. And I feel like in the Mystic Mondays Tarot, we've got these 2 triangles, which represents pyramids. And that is something that has lasted way beyond, you know, the time of anyone that has helped build it, you know. And I feel like that is something the Emperor does keep in mind when seeking to implement something, whether it's like strategy, a plan. It's typically like a long-term type of plan. I like to look at significance of scale. So I did mention how much larger the Empire State Building is versus the other buildings, and how it can feel like, you know, these cards feel like it's like they're the subjects, you know, the loyal subjects of the Emperor, the way it's like arranged here. And I think that's something that the Emperor does well, you know, is able to lead well, able to, you know, make a plan, but also not be the only one carrying the plan, being able to delegate, being able to recognize someone's strengths, someone's weakness, be like, so-and-so would be really great at that. I don't necessarily need to be the one carrying that out per se, because I know someone else could do it so much better than me. You know, I kind of feel like that's Emperor energy. So in all of these cards, I do feel like there is an energy of authority, of leadership, of building structure, of building that foundation for the future, of also building legacy, something that can last beyond one's time, of being the boss, of being in control. And I think through time also, like becoming the master at something, like mastery of even self. It could be mastery of one's emotions, mastery. Well, I suppose that's more King of Cups, but and when I do think of the Emperor, I think it's a bit more physical in nature. But I do think about like longevity with the Emperor and that they're thinking about that. And in terms of strategy, when I was researching about the Empire State Building, as soon as I opened up Instagram, I was served Empire State Building ads. And I feel like that's a very Emperor state of mind or Empire state of mind, where you're thinking about strategy, you're thinking about like the next step. It's like chess, like what would be like 10 steps ahead to get you to the goal or whatever it is. And I feel like having that vision for the future is also a very Emperor thing. But of course, you got to look at balance. And there are aspects of the Emperor when it's leaning too much in a direction can lead to like maybe like toxic masculinity. Maybe you can think of like male figures in your life that you're like, whoa, like that's a little bit too much. I wish that you could embrace more feminine aspects or something like that. Maybe there are men you can think of that are very rigid or stubborn or really set in their ways. And I think that could be an aspect of the Emperor that probably leans more into the reversal of the Emperor. But I think with like all this red, that could be a domineering type of thing, a domineering type of force to reckon with, if not balanced. But overall, the Emperor is a great leader, a great authority, being able to set plans and strategy and put them into action, being able to solidify a foundation in the physical world. Okay, so what's next is personal story time. I use my Kickstarter story a lot. I literally illustrated all the major arcana cards for the Kickstarter, for the Mystic Mondays Tarot. And I think you go through the lessons of the cards when you're illustrating them, as you're learning them. And one of the core reasons why I wanted to create my own tarot deck was to better learn the tarot cards, because I had been a receiver of tarot readings myself for quite a long time. And I remember thinking through like the plan, the strategy, the launch, and coming up with that order of how things were going to go. And I think anything pertaining to having some sort of launch, a marketing launch, social media, like if you're planning a big reveal or something like that, you have to schedule it. I mean, you can just post it. That's also a plan, but you have a plan. And that's the point, that you have a plan that you want to follow. You might not always follow it, but you have a plan and you're working towards a goal. And that is what I think of the Emperor card as being. And then something with the Emperor card, doing your research. If you have a goal in mind, reverse engineering that goal. Like, how did other people do it? And tracking your steps, whether it's like working backwards to then eventually get to where you want to go. And I feel like the Emperor does that really well. And I mentioned the podcast episode I did with Asia. She was a guest on the Grace podcast, but we also talked about working with your spiritual team, because oftentimes when you're building things like pyramids, you're not doing that alone. You're selling a vision to people to then carry out that vision, whether it's like, hey, these buildings, aka these sacred pyramids, are housing, ancient history, or we're doing our sacred rituals in here. And it's a part of our culture to be a part of this important thing that we're building together. And I'm obviously oversimplifying all the amazing things that went into building the pyramids, but that's just an example. The Emperor creates the vision for others to follow. So I would love to know, have you ever been a part of something like that? Whether you were a part of a play and you were all, within your designated roles of how to put this play together to be the best that it can be. Or maybe you were the leader, the visionary, telling people about your grand idea and getting other people on board to be a part of it. Can you think of people who remind you of the Emperor? whether it's a father figure because the Emperor is like the daddy of the deck. So that could be an older male figure, maybe it was an old teacher, maybe someone who passed wisdom down to you and you were really impacted by that. Definitely fill out the worksheets and let me know in the comments or in our private community what your connection is with the Emperor card. All right, that is it for the Emperor Tarot card lesson. If you like this episode, remember to like, subscribe, and comment so that more tarot lovers and learners can join us on the Fool's Journey. If you want to dive deeper with this card, you can listen to the Emperor Meditation, which is available on our YouTube, the Mystic Mondays YouTube channel, with full extended meditations inside our Coven membership portal. And just so you know, each tarot card also has its own collection where you can shop your favorite tarot cards on the Mystic Mondays site. So if you are feeling super connected to the card, we do have Emperor merch on the Mystic Mondays website for you to shop right now, like the shirt that I am wearing. And if you use code EMPEROR, you can get 10% off any item in the Emperor collection. Thanks for being here. Sending you so much magic today and every day. See you in the next lesson.